2.5 years ago, I found myself in a situation I never could have imagined being in. Has anybody ever been there? I've spent my life encouraging people, coaching people, from sports to business around the world. I've built orphanages in multiple continents and made millions of dollars. 2.5 years ago, I found myself living in a small cabin with no heat, a couple light bulbs, eating food I could boil, going through a painful divorce, not painting that as a victim, because truly most of it was my fault. I never could have imagined being in that situation, ever. A few months later, I found myself in a hospital, downstairs, going through magnetic resonance testing of the quality of my heart, finding out that my heart is failing. And he tells me, we don't know what we're going to do. Spent my life as a professional athlete. I've been fit most of my life. I never would have imagined that there was a genetic disposition, or whatever it's called, for a heart condition. And I'm rocked to the very foundation of my life, and I realize I suddenly have to take everything I've been teaching my entire life and live it. It's easy to teach, it's easy to share, it's easy to inspire, it's easy to motivate. But it's a whole other thing when it rocks the very foundation of your life. And so I went back to the question I've been asking people for years, and the question is, how do you want to live? Because if it was that I was only going to have a few more years to live, if I was only going to raise my children for a few more years, it wasn't going to be like this. I wasn't going to live in that little cabin, the guest house, looking up at my 10,000 square foot mansion where my children were celebrating holidays, punishing myself, feeling sorry for myself. I wasn't going to live that way. And I went to my wall and I started writing how I wanted to live. And I can remember those questions my whole life. What am I going to do? How do you want to live? And let's be honest, most of how we live is based upon what we do. I ask people all the time, how did you get your job? And they look at me like, a friend of mine was working at a place, they had an opening, and I've been there ever since. And to be honest with you, the jobs that most of us have dictate a lot of our life. They dictate how much time we have for our children. They dictate oftentimes our health because we're working physically or neurotically and we're stressed out and we're busy and we don't have time to exercise or eat right. It impacts where we live based upon our economics, so what schools our kids can go to. It impacts the relationships we're in based on who we're with all day. It impacts our marriages and how that's played out based upon time and stress and coming home and playing who had the worst day game. And yet most people, their choice for how they live was very random. And it struck me that I need to make some radical changes in the way I think, because the foundation of my life was based on how I think. Would you agree with that? Because how we think dictates what we do. And what we do is the fruit of our life. What we sow into this world, we're going to reap no matter what it is. And I suddenly was realizing I was reaping what I had sown, and I wasn't real proud of it. And it's not real easy to get up here and talk about it. But it's reality. And we got to get honest with ourselves if we're ever going to move forward. I can remember a school counselor telling me once, I was about to graduate from high school, and he says, hey, Brad, you're going to graduate soon. What are you going to do? I go, I don't know. I'm a high school student. I don't know anything. You going to go to college? Heck no. I got a 2-point grade point. I'm ADD dyslexic. Are you kidding me? You're going to mail me my diploma when I pay my fines. This is... No. You going to get a job? Not if I can avoid it. He says, Brad, you are going to become like what you focus on. You are going to gravitate and move in the direction of your most dominant thought. I said, then I am going to be a girl. Maybe I'll be a can of beer. I'll be a bud girl, Let's just put it all together. What are you talking about? I was lost. And I realized that, you know what? He's on point, because your life does become what you focus on. And sometimes we focus on things thinking it won't create gravity in our life. And I will tell each and every one of you that it will. And if you don't guard your thoughts will become your words. And if you don't guard your words will become your actions. And if you don't watch your actions, they will create a crop. That's a reality in our lives, and it was a hard one for me to deal with. And I realized I had to radically reinvent how I thought about everything. And I realized that the foundation of my life is I had to come to grips with answering the question, not what do I do, but how do I want to live? And I think it's a question that's probably pressing in all of our hearts is, how do I want to live? It's been the subject almost all day, everybody. How do we want to live? And are we living authentically? And are we living passionately? And are we really making a contribution? Martin Luther King says the most pressing question on every man's heart is, what will be my contribution? Because I think at the end of the day, money doesn't really matter that much. It's a tool. It oftentimes magnifies character. And like a scalpel in the right hand, it can be an amazing thing. But if not handled right, crafted right, money can be a very destructive thing. Agreed? And I realized I had to reinvent my entire life, starting off with how do I want the story to end. When I was a competitive snow skier, I thought 3 and 4 bumps ahead. When I got into tennis, I was 3 or 4 shots ahead. When I played golf, I was positioning for the next shot. And in life, it's really not a whole lot different, is it? 3-4 years from now, every one of us is going to arrive. The question is where? And we will arrive at the sum total of the things that we do. And what we do will be based upon what we put in this little noggin here. And that's why I applaud every one of you being part of this great movement called TED, of educating people to think different, to think outside the box. Whether you like it or dislike it, whether you agree with each person or not, doesn't really matter. You're open to new truths. And I had to come to grips with the question of how do I want to live? And I think I kind of got caught up in this global consciousness concept of I want to make a difference. I don't want to just go out and make a living. I want to make a difference. I don't want to just consume. I want to contribute. I don't want to be a victim. I want to be a victor. I don't want to be bitter. I want to be better. Who doesn't want those things? Agreed? Who doesn't want a significant life? We all do. For crying out loud, it's in our very essence of our nature. But how do we get there is always the question, isn't it? And I will tell you, it's not that tricky. I'll just show it to you. Money you've seen this before. But the whole idea is you have to ask yourself, how do you want to live? You've got to come up with a sum total of exactly how you want to live. And I would ask you first and foremost, how do you want to feel? And get honest, because you know what? It's scary. If I ask most men, they say, I want respect. I ask most women and say, I want peace of mind. But then again, I know lots of women say, I want respect too. And I know lots of men say, I want peace of mind. It's all relative, right? You choose. It's up to you. How do you want to feel? I want to feel bold. I want to feel loved. I want to be forgiven. I want to feel that I was living a life by grace. I want to feel like I was making an impact. I want to live my life under the concept of loving everybody and everything and adding value in every situation possible, because from there radiated all the joy and all the peace and all the prosperity I ever could have asked for. So here we are 2 years later. Still living in a little apartment. Still driving a little car. Not a whole lot of things to show, but something is birthing in here. Something radical is transforming in my life. I'm in the mid-state right now. I'm not here to tell you, did it! Shoo! I'm here as a person in the battle, and I love it. I love the challenge. I love the climb. If you come to grips with how you want to feel, then I ask yourself, what kind of people do you want to impact with your life? And forgive me for my writing. I'm a doctor's son. He didn't pass the brain gene on, unfortunately, but the handwriting gene. And I came to grips with the people that I wanted to make an impact on, and that started first and foremost with my children. That I knew my children needed to see me make a comeback. They needed to see grace personified. They needed to see a life radiating and resonating from an essence of love. Not caught up on things or toys or titles. Not that that's bad. I'm not judging that, because there were days in my life when that inspired me to go and do one more thing and to work a little harder. But you kind of get to a point where it doesn't do it for you anymore. There's something much greater. What is home field advantage as a classic example? Why is there actual structure in sports where there is home field advantage? Do they get an extra player? Are they playing downhill? Is the wind always at their back, or has something changed in their body? Something called momentum, something called adrenaline, something called I'm playing for my mom, my kid brother, someone that fell down. I got inspiration. It's deep in my heart, man. What is it? And something radically transforms in a team when they're playing for their hometown fans. You got to know who you play for. Most inspiring stories of 9/11 were the people digging through the rubble. And people trying to pull off the pile. You're sick, you're falling over, you're not going to make it. And they go, hey. And they point at their arm, and there'll be a badge of the person they were digging for. When I find them, I'll back up. Until then, leave me alone. I'll be fine. I could be that far. When you put a picture up of who you play for, everything changes. Because the fact of the matter is, this will be your life, whatever you focus on. If you don't focus on something, then something focused will be created for you. What do they say, several thousand ads a day? They say that before you're 65, you'll see 2 million commercials. 2 million programming events are to get you to think their way. I say think your way. And get honest, and get real. And get passionate about it. And don't be afraid to cry. It's okay. To make things worse, my mom ends up suddenly becoming ill, and my mom's quite young. Guess what she has? Heart disease. Fantastic. She goes in the operating room. 2 surgeries, 13 hours, lives. I sit by her side for 2 weeks, every moment of my life. And she says, Bradley, you make sure that the use of your life outlives your life. And then she went on to be with the Lord. And I'm not okay with that. I'm still figuring that one out. Apologize for getting emotional, but it's a hard one to figure out, isn't it? But all I know is that she gave me a message, and whatever strength she had came into me. And I decided how I was going to live. And what happens is now you got to create the forces that make that happen. They're called habits. Habits are a result of a single solitary action. We make a choice to move. But I don't think actions happen without something before that, and that's called thinking. If we think without acting, we usually do it wrong. It's usually called inebriated. Alcohol-induced actions are usually not our best choices. And how we think ultimately comes down to one thing, and that's the input in our life. It dictates so much of our life, and it can radically change the way we act. I'll give you an example. There's a guy walking home from work one day, decides to take a shortcut, cuts through a cemetery. Not usually the best choice for most common people, but decides to take that shortcut to getting late. All of a sudden, a little dark boom falls in a grave, 10 feet deep. White guy like me can't jump. Can't get out, can't get out, can't get out. Scream, yell, oh my gosh, someone save me. Finally comes the realization, I'm not getting out of here. Hunkers down, sits in the corner, goes, man, my wife's going to kill me. I'm going to tell her I fell in the grave. She's going to liar. Where you been all night drinking? That's horrible, but nothing he can do. Son of a gun, about a half an hour later, someone else walking the exact same path, boom, falls the exact same grave. Yelling and screaming, jumping, bawling and squalling, trying to get out, doing everything he can, about to give up, just exasperated. He hears this, you'll never make it. Bam! He jumps out of there, shoom! Flies all the way home, okay? What happened? He got a little input, changed the way he thought, and all of a sudden changed the way he acted. Are you with me? It's like the guy that has the multi-billion-dollar house. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, just thousands of acres. This gigantic pool in the back. He's given this whole group a tour of the house one day. And in the back, this gigantic, gothic pool full of crocodiles. You know, well, I don't get it. Why would you have a pool full of crocodiles? Well, in all my life and all my experience, I respect bravery. And if I get someone who's so brave to jump in this and swim across and get the other side, I'd give them anything they ask for. Everybody's like, really? Anything? Like, it's like 400 yards across. Like, forget it. They walk away, splash. Shoom! There's this guy just flying across. It looked like Moses and Jesus. Flying. Water parting, skipping across, makes the other side. Unbelievable. The billionaire comes up and the guy says, never seen anybody try, let alone make it. What do you want? He says, I want to know who pushed me in. Okay? Sometimes that input might be someone that loves you. Or maybe someone just needs to rock your world. Maybe it's you talking to you. But at the end of the day, if you will take the courage to know this and make it known, to tell your friends. I know it's scary to hang it out there, but you're never going to have it if you don't first of all talk about it and let your life manifest on it, because then you'll begin to collect information that is consistent with how you want to live. And you know what? My doctor said I'd be in meds for the rest of my life. I haven't taken a med in 9 months. I won't live in a crappy little apartment. Someday I will have a beautiful home that I will use to share and inspire people in my life. And I love my children with all my heart. And we will live a victorious life because they will see their dad make a comeback. And we will do great things, as every one of you can and will. It's a matter of deciding to guard your mind and shove information that honors the life that you want to have. God bless you.